Alright, so I'm building the Sputnik sp99, and I have found that there is info online, just enough to possibly get you going, but I haven't found any videos at all. There may be one video review of like the overall Sputnik when it's done, but there's no build videos whatsoever. So I thought that I would attempt to make one. And so I will show you guys what I have done so far, and then I will do another one or two videos showing the rest. So what I've done so far is just added the camera, the VTX wires, the ESC signal wires, and the XT30. And I got the Afro Mini already on there, and the 5-volt Pololu there on the bottom. So I'm hoping that this is showing up right. I've already tried, this is my third attempt at doing this video, but the first two, it was blurry and you couldn't see anything very good. So I don't know what's going on. I'm using the run cam, and usually it looks really good, but it didn't. So I'm hoping that this lamp will help some. So anyway, we'll see. Got my syringe pointer. Alright, so the very first thing I did was put the XT30 on, and that's simple. Positive and negative, you know that. Positive and negative, it says it on the board. I like using the XT30 because it can do 30 amps, so it will guaranteed give me the voltage that I want and need. A JST may work, but I just like XT30s. I use them on everything this small, and there's no reason not to. They're not heavy or anything. So then I put the Pololu on. Now it goes on the bottom, and it sits just like that with everything facing upwards, but it's on the bottom side of the tiny PDB. And it says on the board, on the tiny PDB, what goes where. You got your voltage out, ground, voltage in. That's it. I got some plasti dip on there, but anyway, so that's all you do there. Then you trim the excess pins, and you're done. So that's hooked up. Next, I soldered the camera on, and that's pretty straightforward. You got your voltage, or you got your 5-volt, ground, and video. That's it. VTX, same thing. 5-volt, ground, video. Simple. Okay. Then I threw on the ESC signal wires just to make it a little bit simpler. You got your signal 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pretty simple to put on. They got the through hole, so you can just stick it in there and then solder it from the other side if you want, or solder it from the same side, whichever way you want to do it. Then you got your positive and negative for the ESCs on each corner. Pretty simple. Okay, here's something that you won't find any info on. If you don't want to use the minimum OSD, which some people might not want to, some people might not care about an OSD. I don't really care about an OSD, so I'm not going to be using one. But if you're not going to use one, you have to run a jumper wire right here where it says video out, video in. There's 4 pins here. It says video out, and then there's one that says 6, then it says video in, and then another 6. Or G. Sorry, that's a G for ground. I don't know why it would be a 6. Oh my god. So you run a jumper from video out to video in. Video in, video out. It's one wire. Okay? You gotta do that if you're not using an OSD. The micro minimum OSD that goes up here. Okay, so then next you got the pins. You got all these pins that you're gonna put in. There's 3 here, and then the 4 across. Sorry, 2 here, 4 across. Then you got your 2 here, and then these ones that go across for the FTDI. And this is your UART2. Okay, so I'll start up here. These 3 are going to be for your powering your Afro. and it says right on the tiny PDB what goes where, so it's pretty straightforward. You got your ground, 5 volt, and signal. So ground, 5 volt, signal. Then going across here, these 4 are your motor signals. You got motor 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Down here, this is your UART2. You got RX, ground, TX, signal. Okay, now I'm going to be using a Lemon satellite receiver. You can use that, or you can use a PPM, and right now it's really hard to find a micro PPM receiver that will fit inside of this build. But underneath here, if you can see that, it says PPM ground 5 volt, and that's on the tiny PDB, and that's if you're using a PPM. The best one I could find for a build like this was the orange R616XN, and they are unicorns. They're like nowhere to be found. Hobby King used to sell them, and now they're not stocking them anymore. There's one other store that I found that sells them, but they're not in stock. I don't know. So if anybody knows, maybe leave a comment. I would appreciate that. But I'm just going to attempt to use a Lemon satellite. It says you can use it, but on the website, I'm not sure if it's for the Afro or the tiny PDB, it says PPM only. I think it was the Afro. Let me look on my phone. It says, okay. Somewhere in here it says PPM only, but then it also says down here serial RX Spectrum satellite or S-Bus inverter built in. So I'm pretty sure you can use the satellite, and I'm going to try it, and it should work for the UART2. So I don't know how good you can see this, but if anybody wants to, you can pause it, and there you have everything that you need for the Afro. If it's not all blurry. Probably is though. Okay, so, and then you have all your other info for the tiny PDB all online. Let me show you real quick. It's RC groups, tiny PDB. It's online. All the info's there. How to solder everything. You can click it to have a giant size of the picture, so it's all completely detailed and nice, high definition. So, anyway. So that's the UART2. If you're going to be using, or trying to use a satellite, I'll let you know if it works in my next video. You're going to run the yellow wire to RX, black to this ground right here where I don't have any solder, and then red over here to the 3 volt pad that's open. Okay, then that'll be UART2. You put on soft serial for UART2, and you got your satellite. So this down here is for the FTDI. You got your signal, 5 volt. This one's open. You don't use it. I just have solder there, but it's a ground. Then you got TX and RX. Okay, so you put those pins there. They line up with the tiny PDB. And then you cut them, trim them off, solder it in. Then right here you got your 4 pins for the FTDI. And you just stick it in there, 4 pins, and solder it on, and then that's what your FTDI will plug into. So I think that's about covers everything that I've done so far. I can't think of anything else that I've done that I haven't talked about. One thing I want to mention, if you're going to be using this Banggood 170 cam, which I would recommend because it's a pretty awesome camera for $8.99, when you put this is supposed to hold it and go in here and swivel. So when you put this in, it holds the lens pretty decent, but when you go to tighten it up, if let me try to show you. This right here squeezes together as you tighten it up, but it doesn't really tighten around this lens that great. So even when you get it as tight as it'll go, it'll still swivel pretty easily. So you might have to use like hot glue or epoxy or something in there. And as you tighten it, this whole thing squeezes together. So then once you have it tightened down, you can't put the top plate on. The top plate won't go on because it doesn't line up, because it's squeezed in, squeezed together. So you have to leave it loose, then stick the top plate on, and then you can tighten it down. But it just doesn't tighten down enough. So like I said, you'll have to use epoxy or hot glue or whatever it is you like to use. So let me stick this on here and show you what else I've done. These are not the standoffs that come with the kit. The kit comes with 10mm standoffs. These are 5mm because my plan was to make it as low profile as I could on the bottom so that I have more room up top for my VTX. So this will go in here. With some magic, some kind of magic. It's so small and such a tight fit. That's what she said. Okay. Well, if she was to say it was so small, she wouldn't be saying it's a tight fit, would she? Okay. So the lens won't go through there until you take it apart and pull it open and stick the lens through, or unscrew the lens and then screw it back in. So I'm not going to do that right now. I don't have enough time. Fuck, I guess I will. This thing's such a pain. I've spent so many hours messing with the FTDI to finally get it to connect. It was ridiculous. Okay, so I'll stick it on here. Okay, there we go. Now, using shorter standoffs, you got to be careful down here. It almost touches this camera mount. You got to kind of pull it apart a tiny bit to get it to push down all the way if you're going to do it the way that I am. Oh, it wasn't as bad as I thought. No, it's down all the way. So, yeah, it's pretty simple. Okay, so that's in there. As far as it'll tilt up, by the way, which is pretty decent. That's probably like a 20, 25 degree angle. Plenty for me. This 170 cam, you don't have to have a huge angle because it's such a wide view that having it tilted up that much is almost like having a regular 90 degree cam tilted up at 45 degrees, you know. So anyway, with the low profile I got here, everything's nice and snug towards the bottom. I got the pololu is almost touching the bottom there. It's got probably a millimeter underneath of it. I could trim those down more if I had to, or stick a piece of tape over it just to make sure it's not going to touch. Then, when you got the top plate on, okay, so you're going to have to use 15mm standoffs for the top to compensate for that 5mm that you lost on the bottom. So it comes with 10mm up top, but you're going to have to use 15mm. So you're going to need a standoff kit if you don't already have one, and they're everywhere. You can find them on eBay. I get mine on Banggood for like $6 or $7 for a box of like 300 of them of all different sizes. Pretty handy to have. I've used it countless times on all types of quads. M2 sets are nice too for brush quads. So once you got that on there, you put the top plate on. There we go. Fits perfect. Now you got all this room in there for a full-size VTX, and you can just stick some foam right there and then zip tie around it to the top plate and you're good to go. Then you got your antenna mount that it comes with. It comes with two different ones, a real narrow one for like RG316 and a little bit fatter one for maybe RG402. If it'll fit in there. It looks a little small, but I don't know. I'm going with RG316 though, and I'm just going to take the connector off the VTX and just direct solder this to it. So it'll stick in there. I'll have to trim it down. And then it'll go on just like that. Just like that. There went my camera screw. Okay. It's a pretty cool little design. I like it. I'm just kind of worried about the motor, the whole motor situation and battery and stuff. Because I got the DYS 6500 kV and I'm not sure if I should do 3S and what props, if I should use the Rotor X 2535 quad props or what. I'll have to figure that out, but yeah, so this, also the FTDI, I'm gonna have to figure something out with that too, to be able to still get to that and have that antenna there. I might have, I guess I could probably have it off to the side or something. Let me see. If I was to move this off to the side, yeah, that could work. There we go. Yeah, that would work. Alright. So, the FTDI will be accessible. That's really nice to be able to get to it without having to take anything apart. That's always nice. Especially when you're already having to deal with the pain of a FTDI. Let's see what else. The weight. Let's see what the total weight is of this. The frame by itself with the camera mount and all the screws and standoffs that it comes with is 20 grams. Let's see what this weighs with the Afro Mini and all this stuff. The antenna that I made. Let's see. 35. Okay. Not bad. Not bad at all. That's 5 grams. Probably be 3 or 4 once I cut it down. Okay, so I guess that's it for this video. And there will be more to come. Alright, thanks for watching.